again to our channel Bioholic with your Friday educator Olivia. Here is your educator Olivia with the fifth part of locomotion and movement, and in this part I will tell you about the different types of our joints. So not wasting more time, let's start today's class. In the previous part, we have learned about our skeletal systems. The joints are also included in our skeletal system. Now, what is meant by a joint? Joints can be defined as a point where two or more bones are connected in a human skeletal system. And joints are essential for all types of movements involving the bony parts of the body, including locomotory movement. Joints are points of contact between bones or between bones and cartilages. Okay. Now, structurally, joints can be classified into three types. First one is the fibrous joint, then the cartilaginous joint, then the synovial joint. And on the other hand, functionally, joints can be classified into another three types. First one is the immovable, second one is the slightly movable, and the third one is the freely movable joints. Now we will study one by one in details. First one is the fibrous joints. The fibrous joints do not allow any movement. That means these joints are immovable. Bones at these joints have no joint cavity and are held together structurally by thick fibrous connective tissue. That's why this is called as fibrous joints. And this connective tissue is usually collagen. These joints are important for stability and protection, and there are three types of immovable joints: the sutures, syndesmosis, and kyphosis. Now, what is meant by sutures? Sutures are narrow fibrous joints that connect bones of the skull, excluding the jawbone. Over time, cranial bones fuse together, providing more stability and protection for the brain. In this picture, you can see the exact location of the suture in the skull. Nextly, the syndesmosis. A syndesmosis can be found between the bones of the forearm, that means between ulna and radius, and between the two leg bones of the lower leg, between tibia and fibula. Here you can see the location of syndesmosis in our hand between ulna and radius. And the last one is the kyphosis. This type of fibrous joint holds a tooth in place in its socket in the upper and lower jaw. A kyphosis is an exception to the rule that joints connect bone to bone, as it connects teeth to bone. After the fibrous joint, now it's time to learn about the cartilaginous joint. Cartilaginous joints are slightly movable joints, permit some movement but provide less stability than immovable joints. These joints can be structurally classified as cartilaginous joints, as bones are connected by cartilage at the joints. Cartilage is a tough, elastic, connective tissue that helps to reduce friction between bones. The examples of cartilaginous joints are the synchondrosis and symphysis. Cartilaginous joints formed with hyaline cartilage can be found between certain bones of the rib cage. Intervertebral discs located between spinal vertebrae are examples of slightly movable joints composed of fibrocartilage. And the pubic symphysis, which connects the right and left hip bones, is another example of a cartilaginous joint that unites bones with fibrocartilage. And the third type of joints are the synovial joints. Which joints are called as synovial joints? Synovial joints are freely movable joints and are classified structurally as synovial joints. Unlike fibrous and cartilaginous joints, synovial joints have a joint cavity, that means a fluid-filled space between connective bones. Synovial joints allow for greater mobility but are less stable than fibrous and cartilaginous joints. Examples of synovial joints include joints in the wrist, elbow, knees, shoulder, and hip. Three main structural components are found in all synovial joints. Those are the synovial cavity, articular capsule, and the articular cartilage. This is the structure of a typical synovial joint. Synovial joints are of 6 types. First one is the pivot joint, second one is the hinge joint, third one is the saddle joint, fourth one is the plane or gliding joint, fifth one is the condyloid joints, and the last one is the ball and socket joints. In this picture, you can see the different location of the 6 types of joints and their typical properties of movement. Now let's learn one by one. First one is the pivot joint. This joint permits rotational movement around a single axis. One bone is encircled by a ring formed by the other bone at the joint and a ligament. The bone that pivots may either rotate within the ring or the ring may rotate around the bone. The joint between the first and second cervical vertebrae near the base of the skull is an example of the pivot joint that allows the head to turn from side to side. Okay? Second is the hinge joint. This joint permits bending and straightening movements along one plane. Similar to a door hinge, movement is limited to a single direction. Examples of hinge joints include the elbow, knee, ankle, and joints between the bones of the fingers and toes. Okay? Third one is the saddle joint. These distinct joints are very flexible, allowing for bending and straightening side to side and circular movement. The bones at these joints form what looks like a rider on a saddle. One bone is turned inward at one end, while the other is turned outward. An example of a saddle joint is the thumb joint between the thumb and palm. Next is the plane joint or gliding joint. Bones at this type of joint slide past each other in a gliding motion. The bones at plane joints are of similar size and the surfaces where the bones meet at the joint are nearly flat. These joints can be found between bones of the wrist and foot as well as between the collarbone and the shoulder blade. Now the condyloid joint. Several different types of movements are allowed by this type of joint, including bending, straightening, side to side, and circular movement. One of the bones has an oval-shaped or convex end that fits into the depressed oval-shaped and concave end of another bone. This type of joint can be found between the radius bone of the forearm and bones of our wrist. And the last one is the ball and socket joint. These joints allow the greatest degree of motion, permitting bending, straightening, side to side, circular, and rotational movement. The end of one bone at this type of joint is rounded as a ball and fits into a cupped end as a socket of another bone. The hip and shoulder joints are examples of ball and socket joints. Clear? That were all about our different type of joints present in our human body. In the next class, I will tell you about the disorders related to our musculoskeletal system. Till then, stay tuned with Bioholic. And if you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section or you can also directly mail us. And the self-assessment test regarding today's class is also provided in the description box. Go through the link and appear in it. Thanks for watching. Take care of you in this pandemic situation. Don't forget to wear a mask and always use a sanitizer. Stay healthy yourself and help others to stay healthy as well. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe our channel and like and share this video with your friends. Goodbye.